With the concept of social development emerging in the 1960s, then a decade later, that concept of social and economic development was addressed by Gunnar Myrdal. He felt that full societal development was not merely economic growth, but also improvement of the entire social system. Measurement of the social system needed to consider a variety of factors. Some of the factors could be measured by things like gross domestic product and production, but others were not represented there. Things like access to education and medicine, and distribution of power and reduction in inequality needed to be considered. Myrdal identified 6 aspects of social development. First, economic development, which is a society's economic growth and should be measured by factors that impact the whole system, such as individuals within groups being paid a living wage and reduction in the wealth gap between racial, gender, and other socioeconomic groups. Second, physical development is the health and overall well-being of society or of an individual. It also concerns the civic infrastructure of a community, such as housing, transportation, electricity, and the quality of these human necessities. Third, that cultural development occurs when the members of the system recognize the contributions of all racial and ethnic groups as valuable. Fourth, that moral development takes root when individuals and institutions within the social system practice social justice, respect human dignity, and support policies that are for the good of their neighbors, their communities, and not just for themselves. Fifth, that interpersonal development happens when cooperation is practiced and allows teamwork to be foundational in community impacting decisions. And finally, sixth, that political development occurs when the political system of a country evolves to meet the needs of the people and policies are passed that ensure justice, liberty, and security for the good of all. A key aspect of racial justice and social development is assuring that asset building is available for all members of society. This could take the form of creating special savings accounts for low-income families, accounts that can do things like deposit matching or rewarding children for good grades or community service, and also accounts that could receive income from charities. Higher incentives could be rewarded for families saving for down payments for a home or for education of their children. It's critical to assure that there is enforcement of fair lending practices too, and to provide personal finance education and counseling to assist low-income families. We must also focus on the disparity in education for different racial groups. Educational inequality still exists in different forms. Geographic differences between schools exist because of the institutional effects of racialized housing. Government-funded low-income housing projects are grouped together, and with the lower tax base for those communities and the fact that all these children often go to the same school, this results in segregation. When there is tremendous difference in the value of homes between different school districts, then they drive inequality in educational resources because of those areas. We also see a type of white flight of the higher socioeconomic families out of the areas with poor schools. People with the means to move to a more affluent area do so, in part to put their children in better schools. We know that there are a variety of unequal outcomes in education for certain races. For example, when a white boy enters a classroom and is energetic and cheeky, the teacher will view the boy as energetic and quick-witted. The same behavior by a black boy may be seen as troublesome and a distraction to the other students. The risk of multiple suspensions and eventual expulsion is higher for black students. This effect is so pervasive that there is a label now being used for the differential treatment called the color of discipline. What kinds of reforms are called for? Funding and resources need to be provided within the schools that will equalize education, including smaller schools, smaller class sizes, equal resources, equal training for teachers, and special attention for those students that come from families with lower socioeconomic status. Attention outside the school towards institutional and public policy factors that increase segregation need to be addressed. And education needs to be seen as a priority for all people, not just those that can afford a better education. Building healthy communities needs to be addressed. Health from a holistic standpoint, including the foods that are available and the variety of choices at neighborhood stores, needs to be considered. Community gardens can be created, which will provide healthy food and help build social places for community members to work and socialize together. Increasing the areas where people can exercise that are both environmentally safe and free from crime or threats, as well as creating space that encourages outdoor exercise, are strategies to improve the health of the neighborhood.